Throughout history, scientists have used animals in experiments to make important discoveries. While these experiments have led to many medical breakthroughs, they have also caused animals to suffer. Some experiments have been very cruel and raised ethical concerns. This video looks at 3 examples: Soviet dog head transplants, Harlow's monkey experiments, and the Draize Test. These cases show how some experiments have been very harsh on animals, and why it's important to have rules to protect them. Soviet dog head transplants. In the 1950s, Soviet scientist Vladimir Demikhov carried out some of the most disturbing animal experiments ever recorded. His goal was to advance the field of organ transplantation. However, his methods were extreme and cruel. Demikhov is most infamous for creating 2-headed dogs. In these experiments, he surgically attached the head and upper body of a puppy onto the neck of a larger dog. The procedures were highly invasive and painful. Demikhov had to perform complex surgeries that involved cutting, stitching, and manipulating vital organs and tissues. The larger dog, or host, had to endure having another head and upper body attached to its neck. The puppy, whose head and upper body were used, suffered as well. These 2-headed dogs lived only a few days, suffering from infections, organ rejection, and immense physical strain. During their short lives, the host dogs struggled to move and function with the extra weight and body parts. The smaller dogs, attached to the host, showed clear signs of pain and confusion. Many of these dogs could not eat or drink properly and experienced severe distress and suffering. Demikhov's work aimed to push medical science forward, especially in organ transplantation. Yet, the price paid was enormous. The animals suffered greatly, and the scientific value of the experiments was questionable. Although Demikhov's work contributed to the development of transplant techniques, the ethical cost was very high. The public and scientific community were shocked by the extent of cruelty involved. These experiments raised serious ethical concerns. They showed a form of scientific research that put potential breakthroughs above the well-being of sentient creatures. The lack of consent and extreme suffering involved made these experiments a dark chapter in medical research history. This work highlighted the need for ethical guidelines and humane treatment of animals in scientific research. Harlow's monkey experiments. In the 1950s and 1960s, American psychologist Harry Harlow conducted a series of experiments on rhesus monkeys that are now infamous for their cruelty and lasting psychological impact. Harlow wanted to study maternal deprivation, attachment, and social isolation. His research provided important insights into human psychology, but the methods he used were extremely harsh and unethical. Harlow separated baby monkeys from their mothers shortly after birth. These infants were then raised in isolation or with surrogate mothers made of wire and cloth. The wire mothers provided food, while the cloth mothers provided comfort. Harlow observed that the baby monkeys clung to the cloth mothers, showing that emotional security was more important to them than food. However, the conditions of these experiments were very cruel. The isolated monkeys were kept in small, bare cages, often without any social interaction for long periods. In some experiments, they were placed in pits of despair, small, dark chambers where they were left alone for weeks or months. The psychological effects were severe. Deprived of maternal care and social interaction, the monkeys showed extreme anxiety, depression, and abnormal behavior. Some became very withdrawn, while others showed self-harming behaviors and aggression. Harlow also conducted experiments that induced stress and fear. He introduced frightening mechanical objects to see the monkeys' reactions. The isolated monkeys, without normal social and maternal support, often responded with extreme fear and panic. Harlow's experiments demonstrated the critical importance of maternal care and social interaction in the psychological development of primates, including humans. However, the knowledge gained came at a huge ethical cost. The monkeys in these experiments suffered greatly. Many were unable to adapt to normal social environments and showed lifelong psychological damage. Harlow's work is now often cited as an example of the need for humane treatment of animals in research. The Draize Test. Developed in the 1940s by John Draize, the Draize test was used to measure how irritating substances could be to the eyes or skin of animals, mostly rabbits. This test became standard for assessing the safety of cosmetics, household products, and chemicals. However, it has been widely criticized for its cruelty and the severe suffering it causes animals. In a typical Draize eye test, a substance is applied directly to the eyes of a restrained rabbit. These rabbits are often albino because their sensitive eyes and calm nature make them easier to handle. The rabbits are placed in devices that hold their heads still, preventing them from rubbing their eyes or escaping. The test substance is then applied and the rabbit's eyes are checked for signs of redness, swelling, discharge, ulcers, or blindness over several days or weeks. Rabbits subjected to the Draize test often experience intense pain and discomfort. The chemicals can cause severe eye damage, leading to corneal abrasions, ulcers, and sometimes permanent blindness. The rabbits are typically not given any pain relief during or after the tests, resulting in prolonged suffering. In many cases, the damage is so severe that the rabbits must be euthanized after the testing period. The Draize skin test involves applying a substance to the shaved skin of a rabbit or another animal. The skin is then monitored for signs of irritation such as redness, swelling, blistering, or ulcers. As with the eye test, the animals are often restrained to prevent them from interfering with the test area, causing significant stress and discomfort. Criticism of the Draize test has grown over the decades due to its ethical implications and the availability of alternative testing methods. Critics argue that the test causes unnecessary suffering to animals, and that its relevance to human safety is limited due to differences in anatomy and physiology between rabbits and humans. Advances in science have led to the development of alternative methods, such as in vitro testing and computer models, which can provide more humane and often more accurate results. The campaign against the Draize test is part of a broader movement to promote the ethical treatment of animals in scientific research. Advocacy groups have called for the replacement of animal-based tests with alternative methods that do not involve live animals. As a result, many regulatory agencies and companies have started to use non-animal testing methods, leading to a significant reduction in the use of the Draize test. Despite these advancements, the legacy of the Draize test is a stark reminder of the ethical challenges in animal experimentation. It highlights the importance of continuously reassessing research methods to ensure they align with ethical standards and the welfare of living creatures. In conclusion, the Soviet doghead transplants, Harlow's monkey experiments, and the Draize test show the dark side of animal research. These experiments caused immense suffering and raised ethical concerns. They remind us to prioritize animal welfare in science.